Post-Steve Bannon era begins at the White House as President Trump tries to move his agenda forward without the man who was his chief strategist. Will the staff shakeup give the president a boost at the polls? There's some brutal new numbers out there showing his approval in 3 key states that he flipped from President Obama. His approval in Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin now below 40%. That's not good in political terms. Joining me now to discuss S.E Cupp, CNN political commentator, host of S.E Cupp Unfiltered, which debuts tonight. Tonight? Shoot. At 7 p.m. on HLN. Also with us, Angela Rye, CNN political commentator, former executive director of the Congressional Black Caucus, and Andre Bauer, CNN political commentator, former lieutenant governor of South Carolina. S.E, you're the only one launching a show today, so I'll give you the first question here. The speech tonight, the president's going to lay out his policy on Afghanistan. This is, a military decision, one with wide-ranging consequences, but it happens in a political environment that is so charged electrically right now. What are you looking for?
Well, look, if you are cynical, you could look at tonight's speech as an attempt by Trump and his administration to pivot off of a very bad couple of weeks, marked especially by the tragedy in Charlottesville. It's a chance to look presidential. War is serious. This could, in his mind, maybe make this administration look tough. He's got a chance to bring out Mattis and McMaster, and those are, as we say, a good look for the White House. But you have to also be wondering, if you're Steve Bannon, whether you're tearing your hair out at the moment, because for the Bannon wing of the Trump base, going back into Afghanistan or increasing troop levels, if he does that, this is the opposite of what Bannon's isolationism wanted to do to inform this White House. So you have to imagine there had been a battle brewing between James Mattis, who just in June had said, we are not winning the war in Afghanistan and that's about to change, and Steve Bannon, who wanted to get the heck out and has Breitbart behind him on that front.
He said, we don't even want to fight the war in Afghanistan, send private contractors to do this. Angela Rye, it strikes me that this speech, again, about very important U.S. strategic foreign policy and military deployment, happens at a time when Republican senators, including Tim Scott of South Carolina, are suggesting the president's moral authority is compromised. How does that make the challenge greater for the president tonight?
Well, I think the reality is he's got a lot to prove. You just talked about the poll numbers in 3 key states. That's still unbelievable, right, that Democrats lost. And I think that certainly Donald Trump has an opportunity to prove himself. The problem is, with every opportunity that Donald Trump gets to prove himself, he fails epically. We do hashtag epic fail. That's what he does doggone near every time he tweets, and certainly every time he opens his mouth. The unfortunate part, to S.E.'s point, is that this is about war, and this is no laughing matter. This is not just a simple tweet or 140 characters. This is a matter of life and death, and we know folks are still certainly on the front lines, losing their lives to protect American freedom and values. So he's got a lot to prove.
Indeed, this is a policy that's been discussed and debated inside the administration for months now, by all accounts, that everyone we've heard from taken very seriously, and he is announcing it, at least so far, in an address tonight, not in 140 characters or less. Andre, I want to go to you on those polls that Angela was talking about right there, because they're striking from these 3 states, Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. Not just the top line number that the president's underwater as an approval rating, but he's also underwater with key voting groups, including white, non-college educated voters, which a lot of people consider to be the crucial part of the president's base here. Look at that number there. 41% in Michigan, 44% in Pennsylvania, 38% in Wisconsin. That's a very tough number for the president with a very key part of his coalition, Andre.
It is, and I think back to a show we've done before when I started telling you how questionable these polls were, and then you called me out when I threw back up a poll that helped my cause. But you know, there is concern. Look, Donald Trump has got to be effective in Washington to really leave a legacy and to push his agenda and have a good 2018 and a good 2020. And part of that is working with the members of the United States Congress. Look, I've been in the executive and the legislative branch. You have no power if you can't get things passed. Donald Trump has got to be able to do that. He needs to forge not only bridges with Republicans, but he needs to find some key groups in the United States House and Senate as well that are on the other side of the aisle to try to get things. When you look at health care, it only lost by 1 vote in the Senate. Each vote is critical, and so when you look at his juice out in the in the neighborhoods, if he's powerful there, a lot of these folks may be more inclined to work with him. States like Michigan, where folks like Kid Rock are thinking about running for Senate, if Donald Trump's strong, it helps maybe Senator Rock. And so that makes a big difference. And in Washington, if they think that you're popular, you're going to have a better chance of getting things passed. And when we look at things in the future that he wants to have done, he's got to be able to get some monumental things passed, like the economy, trying to do something and reining in our spending that, so much of the base wanted to see. But a lot of Americans, no matter what side on the aisle you're on, want to see things done. But as the economy gets better, a lot of those numbers are going to continue to get better.
S.E., I heard reaction. I don't know whether it was to the Senator Rock title.
Well, there's that. But, Andre Bauer's point is correct. He's got to be able to work with members of Congress. The problem is when every member and senator return from recess, they will not be able to avoid or dodge the issue of Charlottesville. Everyone will be asked. I mean, you've seen people roaming the halls of the Capitol, journalists. That's what they're going to face. So even if there is the willingness among lawmakers and the administration to move forward on an agenda and leave all this behind, the reality is they will all be asked to either defend or condemn Trump's actions the second they step foot back in Washington. That's going to create another headache for the president and potentially for lawmakers and his agenda.
Yeah, I don't know if you listened to the Sunday shows yesterday, but each and every one of them were essentially saying how few Republicans they could find to come on the shows at all, because no one even wanted to face questions right now. Look, I mean, in a week or two, this could be vastly different. But one of the reasons is also in the poll of these key swing states, Marist put it to people, are you proud or embarrassed of the president? And by a vast majority, people said embarrassed. But this is just among, again, the president's base, white, non-college educated voters. And majorities or near majorities, Angela, said they were embarrassed, which is an interesting word. Now, there are Democrats who are taking this even a step further, Angela, with some outright questioning the president's mental capacity right now. It's something we've heard from Jackie Spear. From your facial expression, I take it to believe you think that's okay?
I absolutely not only think it's okay, I think that we should have been questioning that a long time ago. Look, I've talked to members of Congress on the phone about why no one has introduced legislation that calls for the psychological evaluation of every presidential candidate who seeks that higher office, including the sitting commander-in-chief. I think it's imperative, whether you're serving in the military or you're a lawyer like me who has to take a character and fitness portion of an exam to ensure that you can pass the bar. Why wouldn't we expect that for our commander-in-chief? That is a baseline expectation that you are mentally sound enough to handle the office. He continues to demonstrate his inability to do just that. So I don't see anything wrong with calling for that. I wish that it would have been an expectation that we had long ago. You also talked about, John, these poll numbers, and I want to go back to that because, last week we had an exchange about the polls where Ron talked about, the economy's doing well and that's great. We failed to talk about the economic lag time, which can be 9 to 12 months. So this would be a hashtag Thanks Obama moment. And I would say, these numbers aren't surprising other than that.
I think you've used your limit of hashtags, Angela. Andre, they're wrapping me. They're wrapping me, Andre, but I want to give you 20 seconds to respond to Angela, Andre.
Well, number one, I think that the proof's in the pudding. Look at the fundraising dollars between the Republicans and the Democrats. Tom Perez is a good friend of mine, but they're not getting it done. And so that is another indicator of where we are in confidence. People feel good about what's going on within the Republican Party. They see change happening. They see new job numbers. They see the stock market at an all-time high. They are getting some of the results they so desperately wanted. And so the proof's in the pudding and in the dollars.
All right, Angela Rye, Andre Bauer, S.E Cupp. Good luck tonight, S.E.
Thanks.
All right, coming up for us, the search.